got a little bit of a late start. We do have maybe 10, 15 minutes remaining before we should break for lunch. We'd like to, at this point, open the floor to questions and so on. Yes, sir?
I understand and agree that the migrant workers in South Asia and perhaps some women workers groups in South Asia are among the most deprived in Asia. In comparison, workers in Hong Kong, Taiwan, they certainly enjoy a substantially higher level of wages. However, we do need a strong sense of solidarity, a strong sense of brotherhood and sisterhood among workers of Asia and among workers of the world in order to fight for a fair share of income for workers from the global production process. You may not be aware that in the case of Hong Kong, we are the society with the largest gap between the rich and poor among all big cities in the world. In fact, workers in Hong Kong have been suffering from a decline in real wage standards from 1997 onwards. And workers in Hong Kong do not have collective bargaining rights. In fact, casual workers, workers sent by labor agencies have become a very serious problem among workers in the more developed economies in East Asia. Mine is not exactly a question, it's an observation, and above all, is an appeal for solidarity among workers throughout Asia and the world. Otherwise, trade unions will be fighting for jobs for workers of their own countries. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll take a couple of, yes. We'll take a couple of other questions, maybe, in sequence and then commentary from the panelists. Yes, brother down here.
My question is, all the three speakers give the impression that whatever exists in the form of marginalized labor, the attempt seems to be to keep it alive, organize it, institutionalize it, perpetuate it. The point is, the question is, I believe that all the rot emanates from poverty. What should be the focus to stop this rot? Thank you.
Thank you. There was a, yes, this young woman over here in the back. Yeah, I should have identified yourself.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Sangeeta, a faculty member from Delhi University. My question is to Mr. Khuntia. Now, this is not exactly directly related to the presentation that you made, but it is about the interstate migration force, which is the case of rickshaw pullers in Delhi. Especially they come from UP and Bihar. What would be your suggestions, as far as improving their rights and improving their working condition is concerned, the case of rickshaw pullers in Delhi? Yes.
So, Brother Khuntia, why don't you answer that, and then perhaps Sister Manali and Brother Fred, if you want to speak to the question of the institutionalization. One moment, sir.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I think there is one thing. We have also existing act. One is the Construction Workers Welfare Act 1996. The other is Unorganized Sector Workers Welfare Act 2008. So in this act, there is also provision of social security for the unorganized workers, and rickshaw pullers and other workers also can be member of that welfare board. But till now, as it was said by Sister Manali, neither in Unorganized Sector Act nor in this Street Vendors Act, the state government have framed the rules. Once they frame the rules and allow them to enroll in that act, in 2008 Unorganized Sector Welfare Act, I think where rickshaw puller can be enrolled and get the benefit of the insurance scheme and other social security benefits. Apart from that also, one major problem is they don't have the access to like the distribution system and other benefits in to purchase in the market, like rice in 1 kg and also the food security. Because they have come from the other states, I think there should be this state where they are working, they should also extend the same facilities, those to the migrant, either rickshaw pullers or other workers also.
Thank you. Brother Fred or Sister Manali, would you like to respond to the other question?
Well, let me just say this to the gentleman's question regarding poverty. When we talk about organizing, we talk about collective bargaining, what we're dealing with is an issue where, you know, labor rights is chasing global capital around the world, because what we're actually talking about is a race to the bottom. We're talking about employers shopping around the world to find the lowest labor rights, the lowest working conditions, and to operate in those countries where they have more of a possibility to exploit the workers out of their labor for minimum wages and working conditions. Now, with that being said, the approach of organized labor, I mean, look, it's, you know, our approach to globalization is we got to have a global response. And the global response from organized labor is to have a global labor movement where workers where workers around the world can work with each other to see to it and to understand that when a worker's wages is suppressed in India, workers in that same industry in the United States is going to be harmed, because we're going to see work by employers shipped to India to exploit those workers, but in order to compress labor wages. So it have an effect on workers around the world. So the labor movement had came to the realization that our only response is to have international solidarity with global union federations around the world, to work in unison with each other, to see to it and to try to fight this race to the bottom, this suppression of wages, which exacerbate issues of poverty in developing countries. And now we're seeing, with workers' wages being lowered and being compressed, we're seeing increases of poverty in developing countries, such as the United States, where we see more and more people going into poverty because of this issue of the suppression of wages. So it's about global solidarity. It's about having a global labor movement to respond to issues of global capital. And it's about workers being able to connect with each other. And the best way to do that is through a global labor movement.
Sister Manali, do you have anything?
Just your answer to your question is that's what I mentioned in my presentation. Poverty is a violence, and to stop it, to stop the poverty, it's a process. It's not just like today I work and I am not poor. It's a process. But when the workers have the economic power in their hands, then the process, this is the beginning of the process. And also without collective strength, this is not possible. So it should be institutionalized. Then only together we can address the issue.
Thank you. I think we have time really for one more question. Sister over here.
Yes.
It depends on how fast the questions are.
Okay.
Over here.
Hello.
Yes.
My
And
name is
identify yourself.
Sunita. I head an organization called Sahas India. We call it Social Action for Human Solidarity. We work with children in distress, enabling them to come in the mainstream education, trying to protect their right to education. Now, my question is addressed to Manali ma'am, who comes from Ahmedabad. While I congratulate her for her trade union activities, I wish to bring to your knowledge, ma'am, that in the streets of Delhi, there is nothing called trade union activity, obvious or present. Every evening, the protector of law, the police, carries home
we have to necessarily approach the families of these children. Doesn't matter, I think I'm audible.
So by virtue of working with these children, we are necessarily with the families of these children who are invariably vendors on the street. To protect their rights, we have to organize them. As you said, the informal sector has to be made aware of these campaigns by way of reaching out to the NGO heads, who in turn also become the exploiters. I wonder if the trade union activity at your level has ever addressed this. My question is not a criticism, but my concern, because we are seeing it every day. Thank you very much.
I think we're pretty much out of time. I don't know if you want to comment on that, but I'm being told by our organizers that we're just about out of time. Okay. So I want to, at this time we've run out of time, but I want to thank the panelists and the audience for participating in this session. We will obviously like to carry on this conversation with the participants in the next day or so. We think this is an important issue. Tonight, it is planned to also address more on the child labor issue with Brother Fred Redmond and Kailash Satyarthi, the child labor activist who has been invited to speak this evening. I want to leave you with one quick quote that I think is important for everybody in this room and from whatever country or whatever society you're from, and it's a quote from Nelson Mandela, who said, "There can be no keener revelation of a society's soul than the way in which they treat their children." And this is something I think we can think about, not only in terms of the way we treat our children in society, but also what it means for the future of our society. So anyway, thank you very much. I'd like to thank the panelists, and thank you very much.
Excuse me, everyone, if I could just make a quick announcement. We're going to break for lunch and come back at 2:15, please. If we could be as on time as possible, that would be wonderful. We have the Deputy Chief Minister of Delhi joining us, and he has a tight schedule, so we would like to begin on time. Thank you.